Welcome to our July 2024 Powerhouse Podcast episode. I'm Cassie Franklin, Community Engagement Specialist for the UMDF. And here today to co-host with me is Tanya Hanscom, our Associate Director of Development with UMDF. And we're really excited to talk to everybody today about all the many ways that people across the country are moving us all forward toward treatments and cures for mitochondrial diseases. So Tanya, talk to us about opportunities. Talk to us about fundraising.
Yes. Hi, Cassie. It's great to be with you this month on the Powerhouse Podcast. And I am excited to talk to everyone about fundraising for UMDF and ways that you can help move our mission forward. We have a variety of ways in which people can do fundraising events for UMDF. You can set up events all on your own with what we call our DIY or do-it-yourself fundraising platform. This is an online platform where you can go on, you can create a fundraising page, and it really takes your fundraising to the next level so that you can be social fundraising, sharing your link, having people donate directly to that fundraising page. Other ways that people fundraise are with in-person events as well. So we have golf outings, we have galas, we have walk run events, we have folks that do give back nights, which are so much fun. And there's a great way to not only fundraise, but also spread awareness in your community as well.
I love that. So Tanya, talk to me about some of the things that are coming up this fall that you're excited about.
Yes, we have a busy fall. So as everyone knows, fall is Mitochondrial Disease Awareness Week. And so that is a great opportunity and a great time for our volunteer fundraisers to get out there and fundraise. We have 10 Energy for Life walk events that are taking place across the country. So it's a great way for you to get your team registered, fundraising, get out there and walk as part of a community. And in addition to our Energy for Life walks, we also have the Chicago Marathon coming up in October. So for our Chicago Marathon, UMDF has a fundraising team called Team Activate. And it is a group of marathon runners who fundraise for our mission. And they have a guarantee entry into the Chicago Marathon.
How many runners do we have on our team this year, Tanya?
This year we have 30 runners, and the runners are spread out. So we have runners across the country, as well as one joining us from the UK, which this is our first year having an international runner on our team. And the runners comprise of people who are connected to the mitochondrial disease community. So we have some parents running, we have some aunts and uncles running, and we also have runners who have never connected with UMDF before, and this is their first time engaging with our mito community.
That is awesome. What a great way to connect and to have people from the general community engage with our mission. That is exciting. Maybe we should get the UK runner on our Powerhouse podcast before October. I don't know.
I bet we can do that. We'll have to find out. I can reach out to him.
I mean, Powerhouse is all about connecting with the powerhouses of the mito community. And that's pretty exciting that they're flying all the way here to run the Chicago Marathon for the UMDF. Who might we see, Tanya? Who is on the development team right now that people might see out and about in the community, that might see it in an Energy for Life walk, or they might have reaching out to them? Who's on the team right now?
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Cassie. So on our team, we have Monica Hancock. So Monica is one of two development coordinators that we have on our team. Monica oversees walks in various cities, and she'll be out in Minnesota, Kansas City, just to name a few this fall that she'll be at. And then brand new to our team, she's been with us for about 2 months, is Angela Summer. And she will be joining us in Columbus, in Chicago. She participated in our Pittsburgh and St. Louis walk this past spring. So she'll be out and about as well. We have 2 amazing staff partners that are ready to help you with your fundraising.
That is exciting. Now, these walks, talk to me about, and when I first came to UMDF, I was one of those boots on the ground folks that was helping out on day of event at walks. So let's talk about that magical walk experience that we're hoping everybody feels on Energy for Life Day.
Yeah, so I think the magic is different for everyone who attends and goes. So from a staff level, ours is seeing everyone coming together. So we have the teams coming together with the volunteers that worked for months on planning these events, have the donors, the walkers, people who have never participated in a walk before coming out. Then we have the magic from a volunteer level. So the volunteers committees are amazing powerhouses in our community. They are working for months on planning the Energy for Life walks. They work on logistics, they work on sponsorships and team recruitment, and really making the magic for people who are attending. And then for the teams, it all depends on where you are on your journey. So we have teams that come out year after year, and they participated for all 10 plus years that we've had Energy for Life walks. And for them, the experience is very different from someone it's their first time. So it's their very first time coming to a walk. They've created a team. They have the energy behind them of everyone coming out and walking with them. And they get to meet other families and really know and push forward for our mission, and know that what they're doing and what they're fundraising for is moving science forward, it's moving education forward, and it's providing support for patient families.
Perfect. What is one of the walks, Tanya, that you're jazzed about for this fall?
Oh, yes. So it's probably going to be our Western New York walk. So Western New York, which takes place in just outside of Buffalo, New York, they have been a walk with UMDF for many years, I think since our inception of Energy for Life walks in 2010. And we went virtual, of course, as we did across all of our walks in 2020. And we are finally now in 2024 back in person in Western New York. We have a dedicated group of volunteers that came to a UMDF and said, we want to get this walk back in person. What do we need to do to make that happen? And they've been working for now 6 months on the walk. It's taking place in September. And they are just excited to get out there and to get the community engaged on a fundraising level again.
That's really exciting. I know we have a ton of really wonderful volunteers in the Western New York area. So shout out to all of them. I'm excited for them. You mentioned earlier World Mitochondrial Disease Week happening this fall is coming up September 16th through the 22nd. And so we'll be kind of flooding social media with awareness pieces, and there will be an advocacy virtual Capitol Hill Day during that week. We want the community to share their stories. How else might people take advantage of Awareness Week as in fundraising for UMDF and moving the mission forward? How have people fundraised for the UMDF in the past during Awareness Week?
A lot of different ways that you can go about doing that. If you're out there and you are sharing on social media the amazing facts that you create, Cassie, and share out with everybody, if you're sharing those out, you can also create a fundraising page right on Facebook. You can create a fundraising page on our DIY page, and then share that link out so that you're sharing out the awareness piece and the facts about mitochondrial disease, about UMDF, but then you're also giving an action for people. So they're learning about mitochondrial disease, and then you're asking them to do something by making a donation and supporting the cause that you're passionate about. Another way is not necessarily on social media, but in your community. You can right now be reaching out to restaurants in your area. And even Kendra Scott, I have my Kendra Scott necklace on today. And you can reach out and create give back nights and promote it to your community, to your friends, your entire network, and get people to go out. They're going to go out and eat dinner anyways that week, right? You might as well go out and eat dinner and give 10%, 15, 20% back to UMDF. And my team would be excited to help you, to make sure to help you promote it, get you the tools that you need.
How do we get in touch with you guys? What's the easiest way?
The easiest way is email. So our email to get anyone on the team is events@umdf.org. Of course, you can also contact anyone at UMDF, and they will make sure to get you to myself, Monica, or Angela.
Okay. Before we bring on our special guest, I have one more question, Tanya. I feel like I've been grilling you, but this one was fun.
Okay.
So What is the wackiest idea that you've worked with for a fundraiser in UMDF? Because you've been here for a long time.
I have been here
I
for
never would have thought of that.
a very long time. I don't know that it's necessarily wacky, but it's old. We used to do a tea for Mito. I don't know if you remember that, Cassie, where we would send out. So it was a fun concept where we would have these great note cards that you would send out. So it was almost like a letter writing campaign, but included in it was a tea bag. In the tea bag, we had branded, so it had the UMDF logo on it. And we were sending it out to people and saying about sitting down and just thinking about the reasons that you give and why you want to support, and have a cup of tea and think about mitochondrial disease, and then make your donation to UMDF. So we did that campaign that was a few years. We did that back in the early 2000s.
I mean, you know what? I don't hate it because I love tea. And if we ever want to bring that back, I would be excited about it.
Yes.
So, well, thank you, Tanya, for joining me today on the Powerhouse. We're going to take a really short break. And when we come back, we're going to bring on our special guest for today's Powerhouse. So stay with us. Thank you for listening to the Powerhouse Podcast. Join us as we take every step toward treatments for mitochondrial diseases. Together, let's energize the fight. Register online at energyforlifewalk.org. Now, back to the Powerhouse. Thank you so much for joining us for our talk today with the powerhouses of the mito community, our fundraisers who are moving us forward toward treatments and cures for mitochondrial diseases. Tanya, who do we have with us today?
We're honored to bring on with us today Leslie Kirby. Leslie is a mito mom from Philo, Illinois. Leslie and her husband Luke have been involved in fundraising with UMDF for the past 17 years. Welcome, Leslie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us today. Leslie, tell us about Run4Raley.
Run4Raley came about when our daughter Raley was born in 2008, and I had a great pregnancy. But when birth happened, she was a little lethargic, and then things kind of started going downhill from there. So we were completely, it was unexpected and didn't have any time for preparation. And then we just kind of were like, we will do whatever it takes to figure out what's going on with her. Any sort of treatment that may cost an obnoxious amount of money or something, we want to figure out what we can do for that. And so actually the idea of Run4Raley was derived in the St. Louis Children's Hospital room with her. And we were just kind of sitting there like, what can we do? And then when we found out that our time with her was going to be incredibly cut short, we knew that we still wanted to have an event or still wanted a way to raise money. And to be honest, we didn't know that she had a mitochondrial disease for a really long time. But we chose UMDF as like, okay, they think that she might have something like this. It's not certain, but we'll still do what we can to help other families like that, like us. That was a big factor. It's like there wasn't as much information available. It's been 17 years, back then. There was information, but not a lot. And treatments weren't really available. And I know there's still, some issues around that too right now in 2024, but there was a lot less information. So we read a lot of books and we were like, okay, we're still going to do this event. We designed the t-shirt in there. So just kind of, I don't really remember why Run or Walk came about, but that's just kind of how it was developed initially to help her. And we realized we couldn't help her. We still wanted to help other families like us.
And I know your event's coming up this weekend. And so the last time I attended your event was in 2017. And one of the aspects of Run4Raley that I really enjoyed and thought was really neat was that it's a twilight run. So tell us a little bit about this unique aspect of your event.
Yeah, so we always held it on a Saturday morning because, it's in August. It was always the first Saturday in August, and it's hot and humid. And our course that we ran, we live in a small town. There's a farming community, right? So the route would go through the country. And as it did, like the corn's up every other year, and there's no breeze, and it's August, and it's humid, and it's miserable. So we decided like, okay, we probably should switch up the course for the participants to make it a little easier on them and less daunting and, hard to breathe and that sort of stuff. So we were on the north side of town and we had to split it because of the railroad tracks. So the north side of town, we didn't want to cross the tracks during a run. We don't want to mess with the track. So that's how we stayed over there. And then it was like, okay, well, what can we do different to move it? And then the company here, that actually hosts like the Illinois Marathon, like they're part of the timing for that. He's like, you should try a Friday run. You should try that. You're ready to change up the course to see what happens on a Friday night. Like we've had success with that. And so we were really nervous to do it. And so we did. And so we switched to the south side of town. It's on Friday evenings, like registration's at 6 and the event starts at 7. So it's much cooler. The sun's not beating down as much. And through town, the course offers a little bit more shade than it did when we were out in the country and, you're just running the route there with not a lot of tree offerings. So that's kind of how we ended up doing that. And we've really enjoyed the change.
So you said you live in a small farming community. What sort of community support have you felt since like the start of Run4Raley? Like what does Run4Raley look like?
Yeah. So it, as you can imagine, has ebbed and flowed through 17 years. But in the beginning, we didn't really have goals per se. Like I think our goal was if we can just get some people to come out and participate to run and we can like raise $5,000, like that would just be amazing. And then I don't remember numbers off the top of my head, like right now, but I know that we had a ton of people show up and actually our largest year was in 2016 in terms of attendance, I think. So that would have been like 8 years. Wait, how many years? Yeah, 8 years. I was thinking, when do we start? 8 years passed. I believe that was the year. And it was so amazing that was the only year that I've run it. And to see the literal sea of people there supporting our event that far into it was absolutely amazing. I wanted, like, we've topped out at like 230 runners, I believe, is like our top. And that doesn't include the walkers because we do the mile walk or just the people that are just there to like, we don't really want to run or walk, but we're just there to support. So the numbers have been really great for us. And we've been very lucky that the community has stayed involved this long because let's face it, it's hard to keep people's interest for that long. And I don't know if it's monotonous necessarily, but I think because you are in a smaller community, everyone, and it's more about the support for the family versus like, I really want to run or I really want to walk, and just knowing what we're trying to do to keep Raley's memory alive and to help others because of her. Like, I think that's where our success has come into play.
It's just like a huge credit to your family, like keeping her legacy. Like that's amazing. And the community to continuing to support. And it's just a really beautiful thing. I noticed that you guys have billboards this year. I'm super jealous about that. Like I've always wanted like to see UMDF on billboards. The fact that you guys have Run4Raley billboards, I think is really cool. So do you guys always have billboards or is this like a new thing?
So we've had billboards for several years now. We get 2. So the closest town to us or city, I guess, is Champaign, which is where the University of Illinois is. And so, which they're within like 20 minutes from us. So we try to get one in Urbana, one in Champaign, but honestly, it's just wherever they put us, unless you want to pay a lot of money to be in a specific spot. So we've been really lucky with the locations, honestly. And it's just really cool. And actually before I came in here, my youngest was like, Mom, some of my friends just told me today that they saw the Run4Raley billboard. And I was like, that's so cool. Right. So, just, does it help so much? I don't know. But it's cool to see us from being able to promote her event. And hopefully getting some interest from, the bigger city to come here. So,
yeah. Have you had runners come in from the university?
So we've had college students come before, like specifically, we've had people reach out about projects from the U of I, like wanting to use us as, something for them, which is fine. That's all fine. But so our local school here where my girls go to school, the cross country teams, The coach there is a huge promoter of our event. And she was just telling me today they had cross-country practice that he was like, has everybody seen the billboards and have we done this or that? And like, hey, just a reminder, this is coming up next week or whatever, just to keep them engaged. And so he'll give them the day off of running so that they can come here and run, which is really cool too. So having that local support is huge and very meaningful to my family, but specifically the girls.
It's awesome that you have that community support, that school support from your local school district. So that reminds me to ask about Hope4Aubree, because I know through Hope4Aubree, you're also helping to give back to your local students. So can you tell us a little bit about Hope4Aubree?
Yeah, so Hope4Aubree was developed when we had, unfortunately, like a similar situation with Raley. So we have 4 girls, 2 we are fortunate to raise, and 2 that we have lost. So Aubree is our 3rd daughter, and when I was pregnant with her at 30 weeks gestation, I delivered her stillborn. And when she was born, she looked like Raley in the sense of like looked outwardly perfect and nothing wrong. And we did testing on her and stuff, and like nothing came back. But again, we didn't still then have a diagnosis for what happened with Raley. So we didn't know what happened to her at the time. So when that happened, we were also like, okay, like I can't not do something for Raley and then, you know, leave Aubree to have nothing done with her. So what we ended up doing is we actually have created these memorial kits, and we put kits together and donate to our local hospital. And those kits are handed out to families who don't get to leave the hospital with their babies. So whether it's a miscarriage or a stillbirth or something else that happens at birth and the families don't get to leave and take their babies home with them, it's a kit to like preserve every lasting memory that you can with them. You only get a short amount of time. And these little imprints or like we also provide, it's a little charm that says like it's an angel and it has the word hope on it. Just like other little things that they realize that their baby mattered and you did get a short amount of time with them, but you were able to find a way to make the experience as good as it could be in those moments with your baby. And so it was just important to us to do that. So we send those kits out whenever the hospital reaches out and says, which is also a terrible thing because it's like, hey, we need more kits, which is awful because we don't really want to give more kits, right? So it's a double-edged sword. So when I hear from her quicker than like the previous time, I'm like, this, you know, really stinks. But like just 2 weeks ago, I think my sister sent me a message and she said, hey, it was actually a screenshot, and someone that she went to high school sent her a message and said, hey, like, I don't know if you knew I was expecting, but I was, and we lost our baby, but we got a kit from your sister. And like, it really meant a lot to us to have that. We haven't even got through everything yet. So again, it's like, it's not really a happy feeling, but we're glad that we can do something for someone else like us. And that's just been important. So
talk to us about the scholarship opportunity that you guys have at Unity High. And by the way, I love the fact that your high school's called Unity. Like, I think that that's the coolest school district ever. But talk to us a little bit about what the foundation is doing there locally for students.
Yeah, so it's also important to us to realize that, you know, the money we raise here doesn't stay here. So there was that element where we wanted to be like, hey, we know you're supporting our cause and we'd still like to give back here too. So we do, we sponsor for the local town softball league. We sponsor a team each year. And then we advertise there at the fields. Like they have a sign, a Run4Raley sign that we do that too. But so we also do this scholarship. It's a $500 scholarship to Unity High School senior. And we don't make it about grades. We don't make it about where you're going to college. It's just really about, because I feel like we're at an age where maybe kids don't give back as much as they used to because they're preoccupied with other things, which is life, and it's fine. But it's important to us, like, if you are giving back, and we don't care what your cause is, but you spent time as a teenager or like as a youth, like in your younger grade school days, contributing to a cause that was important to you, like we want to reward you for that. So we do have a Run4Raley scholarship. and we just kind of pick and choose if someone fits our mold, so to speak. And it's just like reiterating that you don't have to be smart in school to be good at other things. And like a servant type heart is really important to us. So we really like to get that opportunity back.
I love that aspect. I love that aspect of what you guys are doing locally, and just promoting service and philanthropy among, your local youths. Because these days everybody is seems like they're getting busier, but they're doing fewer things because everyone's getting so specialized. So I think it's a really beautiful thing that you are just promoting that idea of servant-heartedness among your local youths. We're going to take a really super brief break right here, but please stay with us on the Powerhouse.
At UMDF, it's our mission to support individuals and families affected by mitochondrial diseases. That includes people who may be grieving. If you or someone you know is grieving or carrying grief, find fellowship and support through the UMDF Mito Grief Mentors private Facebook group. You're never alone. We're all in this together.
Thank you so much for listening in and or watching our July 2024 Powerhouse Podcast episode with Leslie Kirby. We're so excited that you're here with us today. I've seen amazing pictures you've posted up on social media of your Hope4Aubree kits with your daughters in the photo, obviously involved, and your family photos always at your Run4Raley on race day. So talk to us a little bit about how you've gotten your daughters kind of engaged in the legacies of their sisters.
Yeah, so obviously it's important to us to keep their sisters' memories alive. And, whenever we've started school in the beginning, well, it really started with Tatum. I would like put a note to their teacher, like she will talk about her sister, and that's normal for her and it's normal for us. So it's okay and it's not strange. And then I didn't really have to do that for Cambria because we're on a smaller community and people knew Tatum. So when Cambria came in, like they know the whole deal with it. So yeah, it's really important to them, these events. This is how they get to know their sisters through us. So Tatum was born. She was the second girl. So she was born when Aubree was born, but she doesn't have a recollection. Like she sees herself in pictures together with her, but there's no real recollection of that. So they really cling to the fact of being able to hear us speak about Raley and our life with her for those short 7 weeks. So this event is really important to them. It's important to have their friends and our family there to support them. And last year was a huge year for our family because Cambria would have been 9 last year and Tatum 13. And so they both ran in the event. And Cambria got first in the 17 and under category, and Tatum got second. So it was really cool for our family. And I was getting texts throughout the whole run because I said, please watch my baby. Like she knows the course, she knows what to do. There's volunteers out, it's all good. But how's she doing? And so we would be getting, there's a group text for all the volunteers and oh, here she is. She's passing this street. She's looking good. She's looking good. And then when she came in, it's just hard not to. So Tatum had run it before, which I obviously got emotional about that too. But it's just something about seeing your girls come in, cross the finish line and know who they're running for, which was so special. And my husband, if he would have been able to be part of this, he would tell you that his favorite memory from last year. So when Cambria crossed the finish line, she, runners sometimes have to get sick, and she had to get sick, and she was like, oh, I don't feel good. I was like, we're gonna go over here to the grass. And then she was okay. But when my husband came to find her and gave her a big hug or whatever, she literally said, I did this for Raley. And it was cue the tears, and just so sweet. And it just means a lot to them, which then helps them to feel connection to people that they've never met before. So it makes it even more special to see the girls running for the girls. So
yeah, absolutely. So you've been organizing this for 17 years, as we had learned. What are some challenges that you may have faced and or some lessons that you learned in race planning?
So some challenges, the main challenges in the beginning were like, how do you do this? How do you get this going off the ground? And then, like, to be honest, it's kind of ran itself for the last few years, where we don't plan until it's like, which is sometimes a downfall, but we don't plan until it gets closer. But and we've talked about this year, actually. Like, one of the downfalls in having our girls, Tatum and Camber, be busy is that they're busy and we're busy. And so the amount of time we want to allot to this is not there. And we feel like, we got to a point where it was like, oh my gosh, if it's not this certain threshold, like, we haven't done a good job. And then we just kind of change our mindset to be like, that's really not the case. We're still doing something. And if we donate a very little amount of money, it's better than nothing. And we're still getting out here and we're still doing something and we're still talking about her and spreading awareness, which is like our big thing. So we've kind of given ourselves a little bit of grace on that. And it's been good for us to know that we can still contribute. It doesn't matter the level. We're still contributing and we're still keeping their names out there and active and going. But the challenges are, Luke and I are the only people doing it. We're the only people running it. Yes, we have volunteers on race day and we're super grateful for those. But like, in terms of prep, there's no other help. So that has been a little bit of a challenge because, yes, so we do the billboards that we spoke of earlier, but in terms of that, and me creating stuff on Facebook or doing our email campaigns, like, to just remind people what to do, there's just not a whole lot of other outside help to contribute to like growth in the event, if that makes sense. So we do ebb and flow a lot. We have, like I said, our 8th year was one of our largest years in terms of participation. Why? I don't know. 8 years in, I have no idea. I don't know what was different then. So we used to be like, oh my gosh, if we don't have X amount of runners, like, it's not successful. And it's like, no, that's not really the case. And you'll come, and we've also acknowledged the fact that it's called Run4Raley, but it's really more of an event now rather than just a run, if that makes sense. So we have a kiddie area where we have inflatables and we do face painting, and we'll have like a little petting zoo. And then we also have had food trucks the last couple of years. And so it's just contributing to like a bigger factor rather than just a run. And that's what we have to remind ourselves, that we're still successful, even if it's on a smaller scale.
I mean,
you are creating that experience.
Yeah, right. It's a full community experience. It's a full community event. And you're still spreading awareness. You're still, like you said, keeping Raley's and Aubree's names out there in your community.
So Leslie, what are you hopeful for in continuing your fundraising for UMDF's mission?
Actually, somebody asked me recently, like, how much longer will you do this? And that's been like a thing where it's like, we never really thought about it. And we're just like, I don't know, however long we want to keep doing it. And really, it's mainly about the girls, I think. I think to stop it would be sad, but I realize you can't like hold these forever. But our goal is just to continue to like reach somebody that were like us in the beginning, who didn't know anything about what they were going through. And, we actually had which I'm sure most Mito families would probably say, a similar situation. And unless they knew right out the gate, you get told it's this and then this and this, and then, oh, you have a symptom of this. And then it just kind of takes a hot second before you finally get to where you want to be. Like, it took 5 years for us to figure out what Raley had. And we had a neurologist tell us at St. Louis Children's Hospital, like, I know it's not going to help you now, but who knows where we'll be a year from now or 5 years from now. And it was that 5-year mark where we actually found out what she had. So we feel like, in a way, our contribution to the Mito community helped our own family in regards to our goal is to provide money to help for finding cures and better treatments and that sort of stuff. So like, maybe we had a hand in helping ourselves. That wasn't like the goal, but I mean, that was the point, right? To help families like us to be able to find an answer, because the unknown is like the worst. The unknown is really a terrible part of all of this process, and not knowing what what you've got going on, what your child has got going on, how you can help them, what are the best treatments. So in terms of our future, we just want to continue to help others. That's been our big goal, and we'll see how long that plays out, and just continue to spread awareness through our small community that's also like reached out. So we're just looking forward to continuing to be able to do that.
Well, I think that your story is, it goes beyond just your small community too, because what you're doing does make a difference. It might be inspiring to people that might be listening to this Powerhouse, or when they see it posted online. We're wrapping up this July. It's our Bereaved Parents Month, which we always try to recognize in some way on social media, and kind of help support our grief community in the Mito community. So Leslie, do you have a special message or any words of wisdom for others in the Mito community who might be experiencing or carrying grief?
So I think a big part of it is like in the beginning, you think like you could never get out of it. And I think it's important for you in those initial moments, because like you've lost your child and that child is no longer physically here, that you're not sure, like you don't ever want to leave them behind, and it's hard to figure out how to include them. And I know that's going to vary among families who it's an infant or they've had a child for 17 years or 30 years or whatever. Those stages are so varying. But I think the big part is like having a community behind you to understand what you're going through, because people say so often, and it used to really bother me, like, I can't imagine. It's like, no, you can't imagine, you don't want to imagine, but just know it's pretty awful. And the part is that like time, sometimes I get really irritated about thinking about it, but time does soften the blow a little bit. You're able to finally get your feet underneath you a little bit. And I think part of the healing process for my family, my husband and I would have probably never been to the level that we're at now, or were at, had we not had Run4Raley, had we not had something to focus on. I think like it would have kept us in bed. What are we fighting for at that point, especially since she was our first child? We didn't have another child around to like make us have to take care of them and things like that. So the idea of knowing that you have something that helps you individually or you as your family unit to focus on, that's a healing process, whether it's, I don't know, it's just a tradition or it's something that gets you through, but like you have to grab at those little pieces of light, and just keep grabbing and grabbing until like you can finally walk again. And it's hard and it's not easy. And I think the worst part of grief is that at some point, everyone around you who does love you and want the best for you moves on, and you're still stuck. Like you don't get to move on in that respect because it's your life. It's a part of you. That was the hardest days for us. Everyone was there and loving and wanted to be there for us and was super supportive, but then they've got to go to work and then they start getting in the regular routine of their lives. That's the hardest part. That's when the grief, I think, really hits you really hard. And it may come a couple weeks after or a couple months after, but it comes. And I remember somebody told me that. I was like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen. And it does. It happens. And so those are the challenges where if you have a spouse or partner, that's when my husband and I were lucky enough in that sense to really thrive in the grief process together. We really lean on each other, and it's just support. You've got to have support, and realize that there are no actual time limitations on when you should be good. You're never going to be good. You're never going to be good again, but you'll be able to piece things back together where you start living a little bit more of a normal life, and just know that you shouldn't rush that and take it at your own pace.
I think that's kind of the perfect way to wrap up our Bereaved Parents Month. I think it's wonderful messaging for our community, for our Mito Grief mentors that are on Facebook, that are ready and waiting to support people when they need it, when they're ready. But heading into your race on Friday, this August 2nd, if any listeners are out there anywhere around Philo this Friday, don't miss the 17th annual Run4Raley. Get out and support the Kirby family, the community of Philo. And where can they find more information about that, Leslie?
So you can go to run4raley.org, which is RUN4RALEY.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about Run4Raley, for sharing about Raley, for sharing about Aubree, and your family. So we really appreciate you being here with us on the Powerhouse today.
Thanks so much for having me.